Joining us now is Quentin Fulks, Principal Deputy Campaign Manager for the Biden-Harris campaign. Good to see you, Quentin. Thanks for being here. First, how is the president feeling as he battles COVID?
He's feeling fine. He's self-isolating at home. He took a test. Unfortunately, it was positive, but he's on Zoom calls and doing official work and making calls through elected officials across the country today. So he's doing just fine. Thanks for asking.
So let me ask you about this growing number of reports, starting with the new Washington Post reporting that former President Obama has told allies in recent days that President Biden's path to victory has greatly diminished. The president needs to seriously consider the viability of his candidacy, according to multiple people briefed on the thinking. The AP is reporting something similar as well. What is your reaction to that? And has President Biden or the campaign spoken to Barack Obama recently?
Look, I'm not going to speak to private conversations between two presidents, but what I will say is that obviously our campaign disagrees about the path to victory not being there. This is a margin of error race. It has been before the debate, and it will be as we continue to move forward, just given the political climate that we live in. But look, all this anxiety is coming from a place of wanting to defeat Donald Trump, and it is coming from a place, given what we have seen the past 3 days and what we're going to see more from Donald Trump tonight, of them trying to push an extreme agenda like Project 2025. On Americans, one where there are national abortion bans, where they are ripping away fundamental governmental agencies like the Department of Education. They have put J.D. Vance to be the poster boy from it. He's lost all of his morals and belief. He is woefully unqualified, unfit, and unprepared to be the vice president of the United States. And so we have to get back to talking about the issues that are at stake and the two different contrasting visions for America that these campaigns have. And I think we see Donald Trump, and he's going to put it in his own words tonight, just how little he cares about the American people, and that he's only in this race for himself.
But, Quentin, that is exactly what all of these folks are saying. And the people who have called for President Biden to step aside are saying they believe he is not the best person to challenge Donald Trump. And the reporting on former President Obama isn't in isolation, as you know. Our NBC sources say Leader Schumer, for example, presented the president with polling in a blunt one-on-one meeting. Did that happen?
Look, the president has spoken to a number of elected officials, and I think also what is being left out is that they're saying that it is President Biden's choice to make, and that he's going to do what's best for the country. We all know that. Joe Biden has been a servant for all of his time in public life, working for the American people, and nothing about that has changed. This is not about his legacy.
So if they're saying that, Quentin, you'll remember the president himself said this when he was asked about stepping down last week.
If your team came back and showed you data that she would fare better against former President Donald Trump, would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No poll says that.
The suggestion is people are saying that to him now. They're showing President Biden polling data that suggests he cannot win. Is there data you have that is different? And if so, will you release it?
Look, of course, what I said is that, or what the president said is that if people on his team is not saying that. Look, our campaign isn't in the business of putting out public polling. This is a margin of error race. We have said from the beginning that this race is going to be close. We know the states that are going to decide this election, which is why our campaign has been building an infrastructure to make sure that we're going to be able to communicate as much as possible to voters in those states. And look, I'm not going to get into attacking elected officials. We need to be unified as a party talking about what's at stake. And again, what we're going to hear. I wish as much attention was being paid to Donald Trump and the Republicans for what they have been talking about and spewing lies the last 3 days. And again, what we're going to hear from Donald Trump tonight. But look, our campaign knows this is going to be close. Vice President Harris is on the ticket with President Biden. She is a partner. Whether folks turn out to vote for Vice President Harris being on the ticket with President Biden or for Joe Biden makes no difference to us. They are in this together, and they have been since they won election in 2020. And our campaign's focus is very, very clear. We have to continue to draw the contrast. But President Biden has made his decision. He is the Democratic nominee. I said before, I don't know how many times we can answer this question. I don't know how many times President Biden can answer this question. He will be the Democratic nominee, and we will beat Donald Trump in November.
Yes, national polls, Quentin, are within the margin of error, but none of them show Biden leading outside of it. And swing state polls don't show leads either. Contrast that to 2020. You know this. Joe Biden never trailed Donald Trump. So how can you feel, how can the campaign feel and tell him you're in a good position to win here?
Look, campaigns matter. We fundamentally believe that. In all campaigns, and I think every single elected official, everybody that's probably run for office, especially in competitive states that have had polls that show them up and have had polls that show them down. President Biden is no stranger to that. I think that anybody looking at polls probably would have told him that he wasn't going to win the nomination in 2019 and 2020, yet he did. He came in 5th place, 4th place in primaries, and then by South Carolina, he was the party's nominee, virtually ending that debate. And so we're no stranger to polls showing us down. His team is no stranger to polls showing them down in tough races. I was in Georgia with Raphael Warnock. Polls were telling me that we were going to lose that race. This isn't about polls. And look, I think that the president has a very saying about sort of you can't love this country only when you win. You can't love polls only when they're good. You can't believe polls only when they're bad. For every single bad poll that you show me, I'll show you 2 good ones. And every single good poll I show you, you can show me 2 bad ones. That is the nature of this. This is politics, but make no mistake about it. This is a margin of error race. Our campaign is on a path to win this race. We have to continue to communicate with voters about the issues that matter and what's at stake. And right now, what we're seeing at the RNC is Project 2025. They want a nationwide abortion ban. They want to rip away caps on prescription drugs. They want to let big corporations and the wealthiest continue to pay less in taxes than teachers and nurses. And so that's what our focus is, because American voters aren't sitting at home right now thinking about roll call votes. They're not thinking about polling. They're thinking about putting food on the table. They're thinking about putting gas in their tanks. They're thinking about sending their kids to school, and they're thinking about child care. And that is what President Biden and Vice President Harris are thinking about as well.
Listening to you very carefully, Quentin, it doesn't sound like you're denying any of these conversations have taken place, or that the polls that are being brought to you by people who are very and have been very loyal to Donald Trump, but to Joe Biden, but want to beat Donald Trump. It sounds like you're not denying those conversations has happened. Do you? I want to ask you very clearly: do you have polling that shows Joe Biden ahead, or specifically shows you a path to victory that you're willing to release publicly, given the number of calls for him to step aside?
We are not going to release any of our public polling data. We have polls that show this race in a margin of error victory in several of the battleground states, and there is a clear pathway to victory. In fact, there are multiple pathways to victory in our polling, and our campaign is going to continue on our strategic mission of making sure that we're implementing our research findings into the field, using campaign resources to make sure that we're carrying out the ways in which we feel like we are going to get to that path to victory.
Quentin, is this pressure weighing on the president?
Look, I think that he's the president of the United States. I'm not sure that there could be any more pressure than that. The job tests you mentally and physically every single day. We've seen President Biden continue to deliver for the American people. And so, again, look, Joe Biden has been in this game a long time. The people who have been around him have been in this game. I like to believe that the talent that he has around him has gotten smarter, better in the last couple of years. But we are prepared to do what is necessary to win this race. We are prepared to continue to carry out the strategy to win this race, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Donald Trump, the man your campaign has called a threat to democracy, is getting one of the biggest stages of his race tonight. And I wonder if you agree with most of the I think, conversations that they've had a successful RNC. They certainly are united. They certainly have presented an enthusiastic front. And what is the plan to counter that in the immediate hours and days after the former president's speech tonight?
I don't think that they have had a successful RNC. For anybody tuning in to watch J.D. Vance's speech last night after his nomination of vice president, assuming they stayed awake during it, he did not do a single thing. In fact, he lied. He betrayed every single moral character bone that was in his body. He is a backbencher that is going to do whatever he can to make Donald Trump happy, and he's a poster child for Project 2025. The Republicans are lying. Look at what they have put on stage. They put the architect of family separation. So they want to talk about their work on immigration. That's how they feel on immigration. That's your answer. Look at what they're saying about abortion. They want a nationwide abortion ban, even in cases of rape and incest. The vice presidential nominee on the Republican side saying that it's an inconvenience, or that victims of rape and incest that want abortion care, 2 wrongs don't make a right. That is their stance on abortion. J.D. Vance said that he would not have certified the 2020 election. That should disqualify him from ever holding office. That is who the Republican Party is under Donald Trump, and he tonight himself is going to double down and show you exactly their vision vision for this country. And voters should listen to the words that he say and be very, very scared, because Donald Trump has no plan for this country. And the plan that he does have is called Project 2025. And I encourage voters at home to look it up.
Let me ask you finally, if I can go full circuit back to the president's health. I think the first time he had COVID, he was off the campaign trail or out for something close to 2 weeks, or maybe it was 2 weeks. Do you have a prognosis? Can you give us any more information about what the doctors are saying about how he's doing and how much of a disadvantage at this critical time when Donald Trump has the big stage is it for you to have him off the campaign trail?
Well, look, he's not off the campaign trail. He is continuing to do work from home. He is continuing to make calls, speak to elected officials and voters across this country, as well as do the official duties of being president of the United States. I think a lot of people have sort of lost focus. I myself have, but the COVID protocols are different. I think that they're, 24, 48 hours. He's going to continue to test and do the right thing. I think, interestingly, one of the times that the president almost got COVID was when Donald Trump was not following COVID guidelines when he was running this country into the ground during the pandemic. And almost gave the president COVID during a debate. But the president is feeling fine. He is going to continue to campaign. He's going to continue to do his duties as president of the United States. And he's looking forward to getting back out on the trail.
Quentin Fulks, appreciate you taking the time to come on the program. Thank you.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn. MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.